Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something that's probably a major headache for a lot of B4X developers, building user interfaces that look amazing on any screen. We're going to dive into a really powerful new library called B4X Yoga that lets you create modern, flexible UIs without all the usual pain.
You know the drill, right? You spend hours, maybe even days, getting a layout pixel perfect on a phone. And then you open it on a tablet and, it's just a total mess. So you end up with multiple layout files, you're writing all this complicated resizing code, and you're just tearing your hair out. It's an absolute nightmare to maintain.
So, how are we going to solve this? Well, here's the plan. First, we'll quickly touch on the responsive UI challenge itself. Then, I'm going to introduce you to Yoga for B4X and its core parts. We'll actually walk through building a layout together. I'll show you the magic trick for resizing, and we'll finish up by looking at the new superpowers this whole thing gives you as a developer. Let's get right into it.
For the longest time, the standard B4X way of doing things involved fixed positions, right? You'd put a button that say X equals 10 and Y equals 20. And yeah, that works fine for that one specific screen. But in a world with countless different device sizes and aspect ratios, that super rigid approach just falls apart. You end up with UIs that look either totally cramped or weirdly empty.
This is where we need a totally different way of thinking. Instead of telling a view exactly where to go, what if we could just describe its relationship to all the other views around it? That's the big idea behind Flexbox, a super popular layout standard from the web world that is now finally available to us natively in B4X.
So what is Flexbox, really? At its heart, it's basically a set of rules for your UI elements. You can tell a group of buttons, hey, arrange yourselves in a row, or line up in a column. You can tell them to space out evenly or to stretch and fill whatever space is available. You just describe what you want, your intent, and the layout engine does all the heavy lifting and the math for you.
And the engine making all this possible is called Yoga. It's a cross-platform layout engine that was actually developed by Facebook. This is the same tech that powers massive apps built with things like React Native. So what that means for you is that it's incredibly fast, super reliable, and has been seriously battle-tested. And now, it's right here in our B4X toolkit.
Okay, to really get how this all fits together, I want you to think about it like you're playing with digital Lego bricks. Seriously, building a UI with Yoga really just comes down to a few key components that snap together perfectly. So, let's meet our new Lego set.
Every good Lego project starts with one of those green base plates, right? Well, in our world, that's the YogaContainer. You create one of these for your page, and it acts as the top-level manager for your entire layout. It's the boss. It's in charge of creating your UI elements and, crucially, handling what happens when the screen size changes.
Next up, we have our actual building blocks, the YogaView. Now, this piece is so important. It's the bridge that connects two different worlds. On one hand, it holds a B4X view. That's the actual visual thing you see, like a button or an image. And on the other hand, it holds something called a YogaNode, which is where all the layout rules live.
The YogaNode. Think of this as the instruction manual that comes with each Lego brick. This is where the Flexbox magic is stored. Using what we can see in the source code, you can set properties on it, like flex direction, justify content, and align items. You're literally telling the YogaView how to behave inside its parent. Should it grow? Should it shrink? Should it align itself to the center? All those rules live here.
And finally, we've got YogaStyle. This is the fun part. It's like the paint and the stickers for your Lego model. It's a really convenient system, a lot like CSS if you're familiar with that lets you define all your styles using standard B4X maps. You can set up styles for layout things like padding and also for visual things like background color or font size, all in one neat package.
Okay, enough theory. Let's see how this actually works in the real world. Building a basic layout with Yogati really just boils down to 3 incredibly simple steps.
So here it is. It's this simple 3-step dance. First, you use your YogaContainer, which we're calling FC, to create your views. fc.createPanel, fc.createLabel, whatever you need. Second, you arrange them. You tell a parent view to add child to build up a hierarchy, just like you would nest panels. And third, you just make one call, fc.calculateAndApply. Boom. Yoga does all the complicated math and positions everything perfectly on the screen for you.
And with just a handful of these key properties, you get an insane amount of control. Flex direction decides if your items are going to be in a column or a row. Justify content arranges them along that direction. Maybe you want them centered or with space between them. And then align items handles how they line up on the other axis. It's a whole system for telling your layout exactly how to behave.
All right, now for the part you've all been waiting for. We've built our layout using these awesome flexible rules. So what happens when the user rotates their phone or opens the app on a tablet? This, my friends, is where the real magic happens.
And there it is. Look at that. 2 lines of code. That is literally all it takes. Inside your normal B4X page resize event, you just call fc.resize with the new width and height, and then you call fc.calculate and apply again. The entire user interface just reflows and adapts perfectly. It's automatic. No more manual pixel calculations, no more complicated if-then statements. It just works.
So let's just take a step back for a second and think about what this new approach really gives us. This is way more than just another library. It's a fundamental shift in how you can think about and build user interfaces in B4X. It's like getting a new UI superpower.
So what have you really gained here? Well, first, a declarative UI. You describe what you want the layout to look like, not the nitty-gritty of how to draw it. This means you get truly responsive designs from a single layout. Your code becomes way simpler, especially for complex screens. And because Flexbox is a web standard, the skills you're learning here apply everywhere. You're basically learning a universal language for modern layout design.
The days of fighting with 5 different layout variants and convoluted resizing code, they're over. With B4X Yoga, you have the tools to build these beautiful, fluid, professional-looking UIs that just adapt to any screen with almost no effort. So I guess the only question left is, what complex UI are you going to build first?